Welcome everyone to another Wildlife with Ray. I got a long one for you today, so if you're ready for it, hang in there with me. We're going to Glacier National Park. All right, so I'm recording this one in Emily's sister's driveway, basically, in LA here. And so there's gonna be a little bit of road traffic and noise. It shouldn't be too bad, but just please forgive me with any of that background sound and stuff like that. So this is where I'm at when I got the free time, and so that's how I record these things. But anyway, let's go to somewhere a little bit more wild and head to Glacier National Park. Our first ever visit there, me and Emily, this was back in mid to end of August. We were there for a while, actually. I think it was over maybe 10 days, something like that. And as you can see, had some wonderful diversity. If you guys have been following along already, you've already seen the video of the bighorn sheep. That was part of this entire trip. And so I'll kind of skim through that. But if you want to see more detail on just when I photographed the bighorn sheep and that entire outing, go watch that video. But for now, yeah, let's just dive right into this one and see what we got. It was quite the incredible trip. Like I said, it was our first time there. We get there and this was where we got to stay, guys. Like, yeah. Yay, van life. It's pretty incredible. So this was our home for a couple of days just outside of the park. So you can't do any boondocking like this inside of any national parks, and we never have even tried. But we found this place and you actually got to view into Glacier National Park. So this is kind of like the border, and then inside of those mountains there is into Glacier National Park. So yeah, this is where we stayed. Most of the time we had the place to ourselves. Every once in a while there was another camper or two, but everybody kept to themselves and kept it private. There's a photo of me and Emily out there when we first arrived. So cut to the first night. I think it was a long drive when we got there. We just chilled, relaxed, and then wake up the next day. I think I had like some work stuff to do, and we just chilled at the campsite for the next day. But this was the sunset, I think. I can't remember if it was sunrise or, yeah, it was sunset. Epic sunset. I'm telling you, I was looking for anything. Any bird on that would have been absolutely amazing, but it never materialized. So, you know, just ended up taking some landscape shots, just trying to show off those incredible light rays coming through the clouds as it broke right at sunset there. It was pretty wild. So that was really neat just to see. And this was all just step right outside the van and you get to see this. There was some wildlife there, and so we'll have a little bit of photos of that. I think I included them in here, but yeah, like it was just shining down on these trees, just like beaming down. I'm like, oh my gosh, could you imagine like a vulture or a raven or something flying anywhere in this scene? Would just be, yeah, insane. But yeah, I'll have to settle for the landscape shots. And I did get Emily in there, so that was good. All right, next morning, our first foray into the park. We did take our cameras, no wildlife. We went to a spot that was closer to where we were parked. So it's like the southeastern corner of the park, and this ended up being just like a beautiful landscape hike. You know, we got to see some stuff. Oh, we did see our first Colombian ground squirrels on our way out. So light was pretty strong and harsh, but I played with some bokeh there and did it all backlit, trying to do something interesting with it, because I'm telling you, this light was crispy. But yeah, just trying to play around with that. Got something cool. Next evening, or maybe it was that evening, next evening, I don't know, timeline's going to be a little bit of a blur on this. It was a while ago and we've done quite a bit since. Did another hike in the same general area. This time we went a little bit further than we had that first morning. This was an evening hike, and got to see another ground squirrel, and then just did some more landscapes there, and actually have a video from that. Let me show you guys this one. So let's see, let's switch over to the video setup and oops, show you guys. There we go. All right, so this one, I liked recording these types of videos just to show the scale of these places. So there's Emily standing down there. This was on our hike, and check this out. I hiked to the top of this waterfall, and that was the view. She was down there. Like, I mean, it's just like the scale of these places is just incredible, and it's really hard to show, I think, you know. So that really kind of just shows what it's like being up there. So next morning we get out and we do a new hike. This is to like the busiest, it seems at least, kind of trailhead. This big main visitor center right smack in the middle of the park. From where we were staying though, that boondocking outside the park, it was like an hour and a half drive to get there. We wanted to be there at sunrise, so it was an early start. After, we did it once or twice that way, and we realized this is too much. And then we ended up finding camping within the park. It was some first come, first served camping. We found some, and once we found a spot, we just booked it up for a few days while we were planning on staying there, which made it so much easier because then our drive was about, let's see, it was maybe like three, geez, I almost said 3 hours. It was maybe like 15, 20 minutes to the visitor center from the campground in the morning. So that made it a lot easier. Sorry, I got just distracted there messing with all the settings, but started shooting some landscapes on our way up. This was a spot we had done a little research and hoped to see some mountain goats. Neither Emily or I had ever really, Emily had never seen them. I had seen them once in Alaska, and I think maybe one other time in another place, but never really good photos. And so we wanted to try and get some really good photos of mountain goats, and we had heard you could see them pretty close along this trailhead, even though it was busy. But that was part of the kind of allure of it, was we kind of figured they'd be acclimated. I'll let you know how that goes. It didn't pan out exactly how we wanted. Anyway, first outing, the sky that morning was like unbelievable. Like, look at these colors, just beautiful colors, clouds hanging low. It was one of the prettier sunrises I think we had during the time in the park there. So again, I think I was shooting 100 to 400 with this, yeah. And so just taking advantage of that, just trying to show off some of the landscape. And then on the hike in, early morning, ended up starting to see some of these American pipit, which were really cool. So trying to incorporate the wildflowers were really going off. And so I was trying to incorporate those, again, showing off more of these landscapes. Ended up finding this guy. I didn't know it at the time, but it's a young gray crown rosy finch, which was really cool. I thought they were maybe baby pipits, just because I don't know these species that well, and I just kind of didn't know what diversity to look for up there. So I saw baby bird, and I'm like, oh, there's pipits all over, which I knew, and I assumed that was that. But I mean, you can tell, like, the bill is just so vastly different. If we go back to this, pipit has a nice little tiny pointy bill. This got a big old chunky finch bill. And so, yeah, gray crown rosy finch. Anyway, these young ones ended up being quite cooperative. So shot a few portraits of them. You can see there's another young one hidden in there. And then I threw on, or I guess, yeah, I did. I switched over to the 24 to 120 because this guy was just like that. And I was able to show him with the glow just hitting the mountain peaks there from that sunrise that morning and doing some stuff like that. So, you know, something I always try to do is, like, you know, whenever I can, they're 100 to 400, and I got some shots of them. It's really low light. It's nothing that exciting light-wise. And then I noticed a cooperative one, and I'm like, man, I'm going to switch real quick. And I can't remember if on this particular day I had multiple cameras with different lenses or just multiple lenses. I was switching back and forth. At some point I realized I wanted the diversity and started bringing 2 cameras. You'll see some photos of me looking like an idiot strapped down with a bunch of cameras later. But anyway, yeah, was able to get close enough to this guy to get him at 70 mil and get some shots showing off a little bit of habitat there. Definitely took some editing to get that to show out, especially like this one, you know, like there's the original, edited in Lightroom, and then there's the final edit right there, just to get that guy to punch. So that's definitely something I'll do a lot of, is just kind of expose to make sure I have all the colors and details, and then pump it out in post to get it to pop. I think at this point, yeah, back to the 100, 400. Still just some beautiful landscapes happening there. So certainly taking advantage of that. That landscape was stunning. This was this was, I would say, the most sort of dramatic and stunning mountain landscape I had ever seen in my life up until that point. You know, we ended up about a month after, ended up into the North Cascades in Washington State, and I think I kind of prefer that, just the ruggedness and the expansiveness of it. But Glacier National Park was absolutely jaw-dropping. The scale of everything was incredible, and even compared to the mountains I've been in Alaska, and I know there's mountain ranges in Alaska that probably just dwarf what I was seeing at Glacier, but oh my gosh, it was stunning. It really was. And so every chance we got, we were definitely trying to show off the habitat, you know, and that, whether that be just phone landscapes, more telephoto landscapes like this, or incorporating wildlife in with the landscape, that was definitely a big part of it for me. So I'll just continue showing you some of these. Sun finally started popping. We were making our way up the trail. We didn't know exactly where to get. I ended up getting a nice silhouette of Emily there. Taking advantage of some of the wildflowers. I think at this point we had gone all the way up to where we wanted to, and the trail, it was called, I think, Hidden Lake Trail or something like that. And the trail really went downhill a lot, and we were a little tired that morning because we had done decent hiking the few mornings or a few days prior. And so we didn't feel like going all the way down just to come back up. And so we kind of bailed on the rest of the hike. And yeah, coming back in, I don't know, what's this guy? Yeah, white-crowned sparrow. We saw some of them perching around some trees as we got back to the trailhead, but no mountain goats, guys. Like, I don't think we saw one at all on our first outing. So a little bit of a bummer there. Not a ton of wildlife, just a little bit of birds and stuff like that. And so yeah, just playing around with these guys. This is where we're sitting, just on the trail here, trying to stay, in fact, not trying to stay. It's very, very clearly marked. Stay on the trails here so you're not wandering all over the place, kind of ruining habitat and stuff like that. So a little bit limiting as far as where you can photograph, but you know, the birds and wildlife, these Columbian ground squirrels were real friendly there again, so we were just playing around with them in the morning. Then this, yeah, I was just gonna say, and then that same evening, we stayed in the parking lot, stayed at the trailhead there. That's the beauty of the van, right? We can go find a parking spot. We just stayed there throughout the middle of the day, relaxed, had some lunch. I think I got some work done, and then we went back out on a different trailhead that evening. And it wasn't just a few minutes in, and we had these mountain goats, bighorn sheep showing up. And I do have another video showing this landscape. Oh no, wait, that's a different one. Let's see if I find it. Let me find the right video here. Here we go. All right. So I'll show you guys this video. Sorry, I don't have my videos too organized today. I'm slacking a little bit here. All right, let's check this one out. So this was
second hike of the day,
in this area.
And we've got bighorn sheep up on the rocks, in the fields. Is he trying to cross, maybe?
Yeah, probably. Look, the other one's coming right behind. So yeah, pretty cool. This guy ended up just walking right by. You can see how close it was there. Just right by me. I was shooting 100 to 400 there, and got some really good stuff of that guy. So that was quite the amazing thing. Here's some of the shots. This is that same ram coming across, and then I found some more of them up on the cliffs a little bit further, so I tried to get some small and frame stuff of that. This guy came right over the edge. Not a lot of background separation, so I definitely did some work in post to kind of pop him, make the background a little bit darker, just because he was kind of blending in a little. And then this is that from the exact clip where he just walked down right across that talus field right in front of us there. And he ended up crossing the path and heading down a cliff. But this was our first time in Glacier seeing bighorn sheep. We had seen them in, where did we see them? The year prior, we saw them in, trying to remember, Badlands National Park in South Dakota. That was our first time ever seeing bighorn sheep. So this is our second time seeing them, and we got to see them here in Glacier, which is pretty cool. So it was the first closer non-bird wildlife, other than the little ground squirrels and stuff, encounter we had. The weather on this particular day was really unique. Just soft overcast light here. This is along that trail, and we started seeing some marmot there as well. This is a hoary marmot, I think. And then golden mantled ground squirrel, I want to say. Let's see if I guessed. Yeah, got him right. Sorry, on these wildlife are tough for me to remember. All this was like within the first 15, 20 minutes of this hike. And yeah, the marmot was lounging around there. I ended up getting two of them interacting, took some video of that, which was really cool. And then they kind of shuffled off, this guy posing right in front of Emily there. And then they went off. We continued on the hike. Saw some kinglets along the way, and then this was pretty cool. My best photo by far so far of a golden eagle soaring right out over. I'm really glad it was overcast light, because if it was sun, all this stuff would have been too harsh. And so yeah, I just got a topside view of him as he kind of flew around there. Got a few different shots that I edited of it just soaring over these, beautiful mountainsides. So that's straight out of camera. there's my final edit. So you can see like white balance was totally off right out of camera. Shift it, proper white balance, and then pop the bird a little bit more, makes it stand out. This was basically right where I shot that. It was kind of like soaring out over all of this kind of stuff there. And this is a good view to give you an idea of what the weather conditions look like that day. And this was really nice because it wasn't just flat overcast. You can see there was some drama in those clouds, and that will, here you can see, so this is the trail we were hiking, guys, just right along that ridge there. And then it continued off this direction. And you'll see in a little bit how that played out for one of potentially in my top 5 shots of the entire trip there. Some more of these ground squirrels were playing around on the way in, and I don't know if this was the guy. This was the guy. Okay. We got far enough on the trail. We weren't going to complete the whole thing. It was really long. It would have been like an all-day hike for us. And so we were just doing a portion of it. We went out as far as we wanted to, sat down for a snack. As soon as we sat down for a snack, this is pretty wild, guys. We sit down for a snack, nothing around, and we just had some bars. So we open up the wrappers of the bars. The crinkling from the wrappers makes this ground squirrel pop out. He was right in the area and he popped right out. I think as soon as he heard that noise and I guess saw some people, obviously this thing has been fed. So he then proceeds for the next 10 minutes, maybe even more, while we sat there and just relaxed and had some snacks. He's just like, he would come out on this side, go all the way around, come over on this side, and there were some nice rocks over here. Then he'd kind of scurry back in, come around in the middle, check us out, and each time he'd like come closer, and then he would back off and come around and back off and come around. So we're not going to be partaking in feeding them, but I certainly am the kind of photographer that will take advantage of acclimated wildlife. And so yeah, he was really friendly. So back to the photos. When I started out, I was shooting the 100 to 400, just trying to get some portraits. And you know, I got a few of these right here where he was just like poking out, just kind of posing all silly right around there. And then I realized, hey, the scenery is amazing here. Let's go wider. And so this is the first one I got, and you know, I'll leave this up. 24 millimeter, got him there with some beautiful flowers in the background. Here's your straight out of camera. There's your final edit right there. And then this happened. So this was the one side where he would go around, he'd disappear up into the shrubs, and then he would just pop out into these rocks. And then this is quite possibly, like I said, one of my top 5 shots. And I don't know if it was this exact one, but there, that's the one. And so, yeah, that's, I don't even think I've taken this into Photoshop yet. This is just a Lightroom edit. But 24 millimeter, the layout I love the overcast, the flowers kind of framing him, but the light just kind of, you know, settled in nicely there, showing off the landscape. The clouds were dramatic, just everything worked out really nicely there. And yeah, it's a great example for me for one of those situations where I will take a great photo of common wildlife over a common or boring photo of rare wildlife. So I know in this park, grizzly bears are probably like the priority for most. Then you got like the bighorn sheep and the mountain goats. I don't think there's a lot of photographers concentrating on the ground squirrels. I'm sure there's plenty of other photographers that photograph them. I'm sure there's plenty of regular tourists that photograph them, but probably not a lot of, you know, dedicated wildlife photographers concentrating on these guys. And I think, at least for me, it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't, because look at this photo. I mean, I'm so happy with that, and I just love the way he stands out. So got a few more of them as he came in closer, and then switched back to the 100 to 400, got some more tight portraits, and getting them peeking out like that was really cool. Here's a little bit more of us on the trail back. They actually have a cable there for those that are a little bit more nervous. Sorry, I think there's a loud truck about to go by, so I'll take this moment to take a sip of water here. I don't even remember where this was. This was maybe another trailhead that we parked at. I can't keep track. So back to where we started. That beautiful open vista where you saw the van parked and where we're staying for a few days. So after our first outing at this spot, we went back there, like I said, one night. Sitting in the van, hanging out the next day. Overcast day. I think this may have been a day we didn't go into the park or something like that. And Emily just says, hey, there's mountain bluebirds outside. She just saw it like through the windshield. It was sitting on a sign right there. So I get the camera and go out, and it was a female that had kind of popped away pretty quick. But But then I noticed this male out further on this stick. So Emily grabs her camera before I go all the way out, and then we both go out together and start proceeding to try and photograph this. So this bird was feeding off of that. It kept flying down, grabbing stuff, and it would go right back to that perch. There wasn't a lot of other trees around, so it was perfect. And yeah, I took the big 400-2.8 for this one because I knew I was probably not going to get that close, and I knew I wanted to sort of use the foreground. Those grasses, I could tell how they were going to look. So I kind of buried myself down in them just the right height to sort of get this gradient in the foreground there. And I think it worked really nice. So there's your straight out of camera. There's your final edit. Was able to kind of work my way in, get a little bit closer. He did eventually bounce to a higher tree and was feeding there. Still was able to get some small in frame scenic stuff. So you can still do that even with, I guess this was with 1-400 at that point. I was gonna say you could still do it with the 400mm, but I see I had switched at that point to the 1-4 to show it off a little bit more, because I think I probably figured out that that would be a more ideal lens for this particular location. And so yeah, tried to do some of that, got it with some food there, cut to the next morning. So this is, I'm gonna go through this all real quick. This is the video I already did talking specifically about this hike that was for where we got sort of a nice random encounter with bighorn sheep. And so yeah, just incredible sunrise along this hike. One of the most stunning hikes we did. This was called Grinnell Glacier, the hike to that. And oh yeah, cool. Got some of the, down in these lakes like this. Got some of these common loons down there on the way in. So took a few photos of that, just flapping around. Dusky grouse maybe? Yeah, got them right. Yeah, first time ever seeing a dusky grouse, so that was cool. Mountain chickadee, not the best plumage, but kind of cool to show off the glacial lake in the background. So there's the final edit on that one. Made it up to the glacier, the glacial lake there, and then this is where you can see, like, look at these rams hanging out right there. So again, I went all into detail on that trip. Go check out that video if you missed it. On the way back down, some ground squirrels again. And yeah, this is just another video of showing off the scale. And in fact, you know what? I will go ahead and bring that video up. Let's see. Here we go. And I'll just play this one for you. So this is the photo I took of Emily, but check this video out. Again, it's a really good example of showing the scale of that. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Like, it's just amazing to me where we are. There's one of those little lakes down there, and that little speck right there is Emily. So let's jump back to the photos now. Some more of the glacier, and then yeah, here we go, all along with the bighorn sheep. Got a lot of photos of them. These are some of the favorites with the snow, but then these with the silhouettes were really cool, the wider angle stuff. So again, just go through this stuff quickly to show that off. Playing with a robin up there. But yeah, it was a great encounter. On the way back down, had another really cool encounter with one of these friendly ground squirrels, and got some 24mm stuff again. So really happy to have the flexibility of that wider angle lens in these circumstances. And that water's just incredible. The one time we saw a bear there. So there's my, there's my one. Look, this is cropped to death too. Just grabbed it to have a documentary shot. Yeah, in Glacier National Park there for about 10 days, saw a bear once, maybe twice. Next morning, we go out. This is, I believe, Emily's last morning. So we're back. This is when I think we had already decided, yes, we're camping in the park. So we had a shorter drive in, which was really nice. And just, I mean, how can you resist these? This landscape is beautiful, stunning light. We're out there getting ready to take some shots there. Got some white-crowned sparrows with the light there, trying to show them off, show off this beautiful habitat. And then struck out. Again, no mountain goats. We did get these marmots there. I think these were the yellow-bellied, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think yellow-bellied marmot on that one. Played around with this stuff, trying to just, like, the light was really interesting when we got back to this lake again. And this was another one of my favorites, a very different shot. So it probably looks pretty weird to you, you know, like here's straight out of camera, and there's the final edit right there. So this is a, I'm pretty sure, common goldeneye. And you can see if I zoom way in right there, you can see the kind of the shape of the duck head, right? And yeah, it was just swimming along. The lake was yeah, as you can see, like barely a ripple in that, just a real tiny ripple. And then this was the wake of the bird, and it showed up in this V, and I saw it watching it with my eye, and I'm like, let me just point the lens and see if I can turn this into something. I looked through the lens and I realized this looks like a flock of like geese flying, like the V, like you're looking up into the sky. The perspective got all thrown off because of the way you're looking at the trees here. And I think it was something to do with just the way that ridge was growing or angled and the way the trees were. It almost looks like you're looking up at them. But meanwhile, we were well above these trees shooting a steep angle down into this lake. And so, yeah, it just throws off the perspective. And I remember when I shared this, a lot of people said they thought it was like a flock of geese or a flock of some other birds just flying in the sky, because it looks like this is pointed up into the sky. So I had some fun with that, just being able to mix it up and show some different things. Another ground squirrel along the way, because who can pass on these adorable little things, right? Another pipit, which was really cool, had some interesting light on him, and then a baby marmot. I mean, talk about cute, right? Look at this little guy. That thing is so adorable. I thought for sure we'd be able to go back the next day and get him there. That was the only time we saw him. I went back to that same spot 3 different times, I think, and never saw these baby marmot again. So I guess they're a little bit more mobile than I thought. I thought they would have been kind of hanging by like wherever they were born, you know. Playing around with the pipits again in the light, more marmots on the way back down. This was, I believe now, this is the evening hike at the same spot. Our last attempt, like I said, this is the last day Emily was there, so we were trying like crazy to get these mountain goats. We have this guy on the way up, super friendly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the sunset. Got some more 24mm stuff there, so there's your straight out of camera again, final edit right there. And yeah, I just love showing off the habitat, guys. Here's Emily working with that marmot. Look how friendly. He was just eating, like didn't care at all, as long as he moved slow. And he just was like, whatever, you know? So that was kind of cool. See some more bighorn sheep on the way in. Got some cool shots of them distant against these big rocks. I did bring the big lens on this particular outing because kind of was thinking maybe if there's mountain goats really far away, might get some shots. Who knows, you know? There's my final edit on that one. And yeah, so I guess, this was just all, I don't know what is going on here. This must have been from a different outing, because I know I had the big lens on this outing, but at one point, yeah, I had like, I think that's 7200, 100, 400, 24 to 120. One of these cameras is Emily, so I'm not shooting 3, but anyway, sunset up there. We do end up finally getting a mountain goat. We're working with them, not cooperative. Just, this was about as close as we could get. Although I am shooting this 24mm, I'm trying to show off the habitat, but it was just always staying a little hidden. It did walk out into this field at one point, and at this point I was pretty happy with this. I was like, this is cool. At least I got a mountain goat and some scenery. Not the prettiest of mountain goats, definitely some rough fur going on there, wool, whatever they have. But the colors were pretty, the scene was pretty. I was able to get that mountain goat to stand out. Got one of him peeking in here, but again, just a little busy, you know. So not the best. And then just a beautiful sunset. So we did just wrap up with some scenery there on our way back down. There's another one of that goat. I think, wait, let me see. Oh no, this is the next morning. Okay. So Emily leaves. This is our mountain goat experience. This is what we got together. Emily got to see it, take a few photos, but we didn't get anything amazing, that's for sure. Dropped her off at the airport, and then this was my first morning back out at it. So at that point we knew there was mountain goats there, and I really wanted to just put an effort in. So I just kept going to that spot, wanting to see how it was. The morning after she left, of course, I feel so bad. Go up there, gorgeous sunrise, as you can see. And then I find this guy or girl, I'm not sure. I'm really not good at telling the male females apart yet, but I think that was the male. Billy, is it called? I think Billy goat. Anyway, I end up getting, I think I had, let's see what I had with me, 24 to 120, and I think I had the big lens with me as well on this particular outing. And amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I had a half hour with this. There was like multiple. I think it was a pair, and then there might have been a third one hanging around. I think it was 2 or 3, if I recall correctly. They were super friendly, super chill. I was able to move all around them while staying on the trails. They were walking all around the trails, didn't care about me one bit. Times I would crouch down and they'd walk right towards me. And look at this sunrise. And here, I'll take me off the screen to show you the rest of these now. The colors were amazing. And so for this one, I started with 24 to 120. And again, I'm pretty sure I had both lenses going. I think I had 2 cameras. So if I'm not mistaken, that was how I was shooting back and forth really quickly. But it was so much fun composing. Like, this was like an iconic mountain up on that trail. It's really well known. I don't know the name of it. And yeah, I just had a blast, guys. I really did. I was trying to do flowers in the foreground, and you can see, like, this is one where, yeah, and look at this kind of stuff happens. So a lot of the times I will use the flip screen to get lower really quick without having to like lay down. And the terrain was a little awkward there. And like I said, they didn't want you off the trail. So it was like, I'm not going to go like lay in these flowers and stuff like that. So this was right on the trail edge. And it was kind of like a little drop. So I wanted to be down in the flowers. So I would just flip the screen and hold it down in there to compose. But what you can't see, at least what I can't see with my eyes when I'm looking at the back of that, are little things like this. So there's this one little stupid weed right there. But thankfully I shot enough without moving, and it swayed. So you can see like nothing in the background, the sheep doesn't move, the background doesn't move, but this foreground stuff moves. And so in post, so here's straight out of camera, I was able to just blend them together and completely get rid of it, you know? So I didn't have to do any cloning or anything like that. I just took that image, which is basically that one and that one. So it clears his face and eyes there, and then end up with this version. And, you know, yeah, it's a great way to get lucky sometimes, basically, is what's happening there. But I was always really playing with composition here. I was really trying to make sure they were standing out. You know, so this was like, you know, use the flowers for framing, then here, get him to stand out in that dark space because he's a white goat, you know, peeking out there, just trying to show off the clouds. Grab the big lens when it was in some really beautiful stuff like that, and just grab some nice portraits. And then he just, yeah, this was right after that. So like, this is the beauty of having both lenses mounted on separate cameras. You just boom, boom, grab these shots, set that down, pick up the other camera, and then I'm right back to 24 millimeter grabbing this shot. All basically within the same spot. I don't think I even moved or barely moved. You know, compositionally, probably would have liked it more down here, but the trail didn't put me in the right spot to line that up. And so, you know, I was just working within that. And then I realized I shot this wide 24 millimeter this way, but I realized like there was no depth of field there, right? And it wasn't really as wide as I wanted because there was some really good stuff over here. So here's what I did next. And yeah, you'll be able to see them all. So I took all of these shots, right? So this is how I always do this. It ended up being 35 millimeter. I went vertical, lock my focus in on the subject here. I frame up the subject decently in the frame. So good space on the left, good space on the right. Sometimes I do it centered. And I get the shot of the subject first in the right position. So I waited for it to look at me. And then I go out to the right. So this is the rightmost I wanted over here, right? And then I start shooting. And I just pan across all of these images, because this is what I wanted to show, really, like this snow-capped little cloud thing over there. And if we go back to just the 24 millimeter, I couldn't get that in there. So even at 24 millimeter, not wide enough to really show the landscape the way I wanted. And then in post, all I do is just stitch those together using Lightroom. I think Lightroom did this stitch, but I can't remember if sometimes I have to use Photoshop because Lightroom doesn't line it up perfectly. And then look at this. Look at the width you get on that. So I'll put these up side by side here. Check that out. Way wider, right? And I guess I got about the same amount of vertical height because I was shooting this one vertically. Zoomed in a little bit more, right? This was 24 millimeter. This was 33.5 millimeter. So, you know, roughly 35 millimeter. But because it's the vertical side of the frame, I'm seeing about the same top and bottom. But like that, to me, is the shot. That's the landscape you want. you know, it's not possible. Like the 24 millimeter version clipped him like right here, I think. Like, yeah, see, look, I barely got that tree in there and some space on the goat here. I could have moved left a little bit with the composition and moved him to the right a little bit, but not really enough to see way out into here. And all of this is like really just beautiful clouds and everything like that. So a technique that I use quite often, you just borrow it from like landscape photographers, but it works wonderful. It's all handheld. I'm not doing anything special there. I'm not lining up anything, not leveling out a tripod. It's just focus on them and then just pan across and make sure you overlap a lot. I usually shoot too many just to make sure there's a lot of overlaps, and then I don't always use them all to stitch. But sometimes I've found if I space it out too far in between each one, especially if you're wider focal lengths, there's not enough overlap for Lightroom or Photoshop to easily connect and stitch them, even though there might technically be an overlap. It's not enough. And then there's always vignetting on the lenses, so if you don't have that really clean, the exposure difference between edge to edge gets weird, so just a lot more in the overlaps tends to help out. And it's really easy to do something like that. So really, really happy and proud of that. Then it actually did start moving into the scene. So I was able to start, you know, finally now including some of that. And this is one of my favorite single exposure compositions because I love how he's just placed right where all these mountains V down. I was able to get this mountain included over there, right in the wildflowers, the sky incredible. And so all these shot at 24 millimeter, I think, yeah. And then he just walked across this beautiful field in front of that sky with those colors and just, yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for? What more could you ask for, right? Just absolutely incredible. Started zooming in a little bit more when he got there. And then, all right, let's go back here, guys. So let's see if any of these show it better. I guess this shows it pretty good. Well, here, this one will. That. Okay, so he came over here. I saw him in front of that pink, lined it up with the 400 millimeter, and then realized, well, I mean, I realized it at the same time. I thought, hey, that's a really nice background for a telephoto shot and a really nice background for this. And it's very specific, it's very thoughtful, it's very purposeful for me to place him right in that little bit of color right there that was reflecting in there. Ideally, I would have liked to have been a little bit closer and a little bit higher so I could get the full body and legs into that space, because the higher I got, the more, like this would have been bigger, but again, stuck on the trail, only so much you can do, you know? So there's your straight out of camera, there's your final edit right there, getting them to stand out really nicely. Another one, really cool there. He's really standing out. I don't think, yeah, I haven't done a final edit on this one. Here's another little bit more scenic version. Yeah, 24 millimeter, because I think this one was, yeah, zoomed in a little bit more, around 70 mil, just to get that tighter shot. Then we go 38 here for this one, 24 for this with the turn back look, and then another version right here, and then a really ultra wide one at 24 with him. Now he's fitting in there better, you know? But the clouds at this point, you can see they're still lit, but they're starting to fade a little bit. There's another one. Yeah, I really like that composition too. I gotta do a final edit on these. Some of these I'm not probably gonna share on my website and social media. I'm gonna hang on to them maybe to submit to a contest or something like that. But then he came really close, walked right up to me. Yeah, I got some more of this stuff. Like the clouds were insane back there. I guess it didn't die yet, as I'm seeing. Like, man, the clouds just kept going. The color was incredible, and I just kept playing with it, having fun. The other one behind me, I flipped around, did some telephotos of that, and I think that was about a wrap. People started showing up at that point. They kind of pushed out. Yeah, I took a selfie with them. This, you can see the light had totally died there at that point. And I think I also have a video to show of that, yeah. So here, we'll go ahead and play this and you can hear my excitement. All right, just spent the last 20 minutes with a pair of mountain goats, male and female, and this. And actually that cloud above that was completely pink and purple a little bit ago. What a morning. Oh my gosh, what a morning. What do you say when this happens? It's just incredible. Whew. I think the only sad thing is Emily isn't here. She left yesterday. Oh, I'm by myself up here too. That's the best thing. I can't stop looking at this scene. It's amazing. All right, let's see what else we can get. All right, so that was that video. One other thing I forgot to mention on my way up, I was just saying, because I had that backpack on with the drink, not the most intense hike I've ever done for sure, but a significant hike, a lot of elevation gain in it pretty quickly. And I was bringing a lot of gear, you know, the 400-2.8 and all that. And in fact, I went back the next day with like the video gear and all that stuff. So it was a little bit of work getting up there, and I was always doing it really early, like it was a solid 30 to 40 minute hike to get where I wanted to be. And so I wanted to be there before sunrise, really. So I was doing the start of it in the dark using headlamps, and just, you know, you got to keep an eye out for grizzlies and stuff there, which, like I said, I never saw. But anyway, maybe this was an evening outing there or the next morning, I don't know. And then, yeah, this was one of the days, I guess. Okay. Yes. Next morning, go back to the same spot. Saw them, but not in a great way. And actually, I think some photos must be out of sequence here. Oh no. Okay. That's right. I remember. Yeah. I just didn't see them that next morning. But on my way back down, the light was kind of getting harsh like that. But these guys were on the way down. Look at this, on the trail. So that's the larger buck right there. This guy, that's him right there. People on the walkway. This other one that was hanging out with him, just walking around, these big mule deer right over the path. It was kind of crazy. And so again, back to 24 to 120 to the rescue here. The light was incredible. Just peeking over there, just getting started. Just beautiful, stunning light, mixing up with the 400 and this. This was one of the times I had dragged the whole video set up because I was hoping to do video of pika up there that never panned out, and maybe some of the mountain goats as well, but just didn't have any luck with that. And so you'll see here in a little bit how that panned out. But yeah, I was able to get some really good stuff. I was so happy I had the wide with me, because only being stuck at 400 millimeter, I think, would have been very, very limiting. The light was beautiful. I would have been able to do some nice portraits, and there was actually another photographer there at the same time who was shooting, I think, a 600 mil, and he was as far away as he could be while staying on that path and still seeing them, because you can go further away, but the path goes either up really high or down really high from the elevation gain, and so you're not shooting eye level with them anymore. And so if you go down too far, sometimes you can't even see them. If you go up too high, then you're seeing them, but you're shooting like down into the ground, which is no good. So to be able to stay eye level but show scenery off, you really had to have a zoom lens. And so I mixed it up, you know, I did some tight portraits, but these are the shots that I think really worked out, like that kind of stuff. And, you know, these light beams back here were incredible. So like that's how I would get some of these things. Just, yeah, like the beams of light. Look at that, straight out of camera. There's the final edit. Really, really cool with the kind of haze back there and everything like that. Playing around with this kind of stuff. And then, yeah, I had set my tripod just out of the way on some rocks. And this one, the smaller one, just came over. I was like, is he going to knock that thing down? Which, whatever, I didn't care. I didn't leave my camera on it. But it was really funny how curious this damn deer was. A few more portraits of them. They kind of went off into a distance, and I just tried to specifically waited for them to get in the shade here so I could make the light sort of spotlight them and make them pop against that when they're smaller in the frame. I didn't really want them up in the sky, and I didn't want them tangled up in that kind of light there. So the shaded background worked really, really nicely for that. All right, last morning with the mountain goats, go back up, found this guy on the way up. I didn't end up seeing a lot of others. It was just one. He was pretty skittish at first, but I spent a little time, just sat down, let him feed, and then he started coming out on his own here. This was actually my phone flashlight trying to light him up a little bit, because it was pretty dark at this point. Like I said, I kept starting these mornings early. So yeah, I had my phone or no, I'm sorry, this is my headlamp. I had the headlamp, I was shining it on him. The light was like a little mediocre, but some of these actually worked out, like this one, you know, kind of just making him pop out of the shadows there a little bit. That's your straight out of camera there. Make the colors pop, make the mountain goat pop, and then I think it kind of works out nicely. Nestled in the trees is okay, but you know, these are fine. They're not bad, but compared to that first outing, it's just nothing would compare. Oh, and then that's right, I did go back further and find the same pair. That's right, now I'm remembering. this was the guy on the way up, worked with him, hiked back to the same spot where I'd worked with a really good pair, found them again. They were there, but look at the sky. Like, it's not bad, but it's nowhere near as pretty. Here he is right on the path. This is like the walking path. So you can see how close he would go. So that's right. He was super friendly again. Played with some silhouettes, so that was kind of cool. It's something a little different than what I had. And I liked how you could kind of see the flowers in there a little bit. That was really nice. But yeah, just the sky was like kind of blah, you know? I mean, if you compare that to what I had, like here's that same mountain, wide angle, 24 millimeters right in my face, you know, nice light hitting that. But if we compare it to, you know, what we got, where is it? Yeah, like right here, I think. Is that it? No, I guess these are some of the ones where he's kind of looking out into that same mountain. I don't know, whatever, any of these, right? But if we compare it to this kind of stuff, it's just like, look at that sky, the colors, the clouds. This is just kind of blah, you know? And again, it's not a bad shot. The light's great. I like it. Just, yeah. That first one was pretty special. That first encounter was pretty special. So I played with some flowers. Again, really happy with these shots, but it was just not quite as special. And I did do a little bit more portrait stuff with him on this encounter just because the sky was less stellar, you know. He's looking so goofy there. Yeah, there's the pair of them. And then, yeah, found one on the way down, just chilling up in the rocks there. Pipit on the way out. In front of some flowers, is just on the boardwalk. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, some ground squirrels. And the last thing I photographed was this Clark's Nutcracker on the way out. And that was a wrap on that particular shoot. So, yeah, here's like a handful of the favorites. Again, like I said, I haven't fully processed some of my absolute favorites just because I'm trying to hold off and maybe submit some of them to a contest, so I don't want them to see the light of day on social media and that sort of thing. But in a video like this, I figured I could kind of skim through them a little bit and show you guys. But just an incredible place, an amazing place. I can't wait to get back there. And you know, I really had fun, and I'm really proud as usual with the diversity that I was able to get in an outing like this over a good chunk of days. Like I said, probably with these photos alone right here, we're looking at probably 7-8 days, something like that. A lot of different outings, sunrises, sunsets, but you know, no prior scouting, no knowledge. This was just me and Emily, and sometimes after that, me alone, just getting out, walking around, just trying to see what I could find. Once I found a location with consistent wildlife, going back to it, like the mountain goats, I was consistently going back there. But everything else was just, you know, hey, we kind of see it as we go. And just always doing what I try to do in these brand new places, but no matter where I'm at, which is try to show as much diversity as I can in the photography, you know, just different lenses, different zooms. And, you know, as you see here, like every one of these, my favorites, there's like, I think there's, maybe like one portrait in here? Two portraits. You know, we have this mountain goat here, and then this mountain goat here. Everything else is somewhat small in frame, if not very small in frame, trying to show off this amazing habitat. So that's what I love to do, and this was a great place to do it. It really was. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining me on another one. I know this was a long one. We almost hit an hour, just coming up on 50 minutes. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know some people have said they wanted to hear a little bit more about, you know, the gear and the stuff like that. When I'm doing these bigger trips, it's hard to really narrow down and talk, you know, a lot of detail about individual shots, or else these videos are going to be an hour and a half long. And honestly, I don't want to talk that long. But I think it does work for, if I do some shorter ones, I'll try my best to talk a little bit more about that kind of technical stuff. And hopefully I did do a little bit of that in this one. So keep the feedback and the comments coming. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys when I show you the next trip.